looks like we may be entering a bit of a bear market for the minute. So I'll go over um, some setups I got for the week, and then we'll do a market review here. So let's start off with the sectors. I want to actually do a little bit different this time. I want to look at the sectors first, and then I'll look at the market. But as you can see, so the red line is always the 21, and then I put in the green line for the 200 day. And so when you have a smaller time frame EMA, such as the 21, cross a larger um, EMA, a larger time frame EMA, we call that a death cross, meaning you're going to see more blood or lower lows and lower highs on the way. So so you can see here, we've got XSD, so we got semiconductors, tech, healthcare, communications. We have consumer discretionary, and then we have finance, consumer staples, energy, utilities, real estate, materials, and industrial. So we got all the main sectors up here. And you can see, our two main sectors, we just had XSD cross on what was it, the 11th. And now we're looking at XLK, so the tech sector. We had some lower lows here the end of last week, and you can see that 21 is getting close to crossing the 200 day. Healthcare is already crossed. If you look at XLC, so communications, which Facebook is the leading name in this sector, man, they crossed back in November, so they kind of have led the way. Discretionary crossed, just on the 9th, and then finance is kind of the only one that doesn't look like it's going to cross right away, but it's still getting close. So, I mean, from a sector standpoint, things don't look good at all. And then you've got your lower sectors here, your sectors that don't do a ton of volume, but you got some of them that's already crossed and not looking good. So let's go to the overall market. So let's look at futures. So if you look at the futures, we'll look at the S&P futures. We just crossed on the 17th. So it's things don't look good. Like I said, we can easily see the 4,200, and then if we break that, we're going down to probably 4138, 4130 range, and then down to 4,000. If we look at the SPY, so we got the SPY, we're literally just crossing right now on 217. Pretty much is when we cross. So like this past Friday, we crossed on the SPY, and we hit that 431 mark. We're easily going to go down to 427, I believe, and then from there, I think we can drop all the way down to 400. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if and you can see we've got that gap on the daily down at that 400 mark. I wouldn't be surprised if we're back down near 400 on the SPY. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Anything can happen, but like I said, I wouldn't be surprised, especially now with the cross. And then we look at tech, and tech, has led the way, has been the weaker of the two sectors pretty much all year, and so far. And you can see we had that cross back on the 3rd, and we're continuing to go lower. I look at it like in a market like this, any strength, any buying strength, I'm looking to short any buying, to be honest, until we can get back above that 21, and then we start to see a curve. So let me run through the nightly watch list that I've got going in the next week here. So let's start off with let's see here. So we've got Lilly, and actually you can see Lilly starting to cross. Let me add in one more thing here real quick. I want to add in the squeeze. So you can see why I'm looking at these. So if we go back to Pepsi here, Pepsi was in a squeeze and now it's breaking down, but it's actually breaking down, so it's firing out of that squeeze and it's got added selling pressure, right? So that selling pressure is increasing. Um, we're starting to base right here, so it's not the greatest, but one I'm going to keep an eye on since it's below the 21. We'll look at Lilly. Lilly's just starting to cross, and let me do something real quick. This is a trick I learned, so you don't have to keep zooming in every time. Select your keep time zoom on your time access, hit apply, and now you don't have to zoom in every time. But you can see that 21's just now starting to cross. We've got an inverted hammer right here, so meaning we've got selling pressure coming in, and then we're in the squeeze. So we could see lower lows with Lilly. We look at Nike. Nike's has already had the cross. We've got increased selling pressure in the squeeze, so we could definitely see lower lows on Nike here. Colgate, not one I always look at, but it's below it's below the 21. Maybe not really high on my watch list, but it's below that 21. HD is definitely one I'm going to be keeping my eye on for this week. You can see here, we were in a squeeze. We fired to the downside out of that squeeze, and we've had 2 days of firing. So definitely looking for a break below that 344 level. Looking to see some lower lows out of HD if the market is weak, if industrials is pretty weak, or maybe not industrials. I think it's consumer discretionary. Comcast. So Comcast is another one I'm looking at. We were in a squeeze. Now we're just now firing out of that squeeze. So I'm looking for a break below that 46.40 level for tomorrow. CRM. You can see we kind of went back and forth here in the squeeze, but now we had a break down out of the squeeze and a lower low. So anything below that 195.47 low or lows is another one. We were in the squeeze. We're breaking. It's still in the squeeze, but we've got increased selling pressure. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do hit that 200-day. And the 21's kind of starting to flatten out. But like I said, we've had an increased selling pressure. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do hit that 200 on low. Rivian Automotive is another one I'm looking at, but actually looking at as possibly buying calls in here. This is the only one that looks good. I mean, it's in a squeeze. We've got increased buying pressure. It's held above the 21. So if the market does show some strength, we may have a nice little push. If we can get past that 7,200 or 7,200, that $72 mark, we could have a nice little push up. So Square, lower lows below the 21. Newmont. So this is one where if the market is strong and could have some sector rotation, we could see higher highs out of this guy. Palantir, I haven't traded Palantir for a while, but a couple of things here. We have seen lower lows out of Palantir, and this is the first break out of the daily squeeze, the first bar. So, if we do have some lows below that 1057 range, would be pretty good to play, and had a huge gap down through Roku. I can't remember if Roku had earnings this week or not, but definitely had a gap down. So we could see that gap and go if it breaks that $102.60 mark. You can see we fired with selling pressure out of the squeeze. So we could see some lower lows out of Roku this week. And Beyond Meat, squeeze, fired out of the squeeze. We're down to 51.88. Crazy to think if you look back, Roku was, or not Roku, but Beyond had a high of 162, and we're all the way down to $51. And that 162 was, February of last year. So it's pretty crazy how far some of these have dropped. And then last but not least, not traded a ton, but not a ton of volume on them. But you look at Bed Bath and Beyond, huge kind of, I look at this as like a gravestone doji here. Um, you know, ton of selling pressure on that 21. We're in a squeeze. We haven't fired, but definitely one to look at for lower lows. So definitely one I would keep my eye on. But those are kind of quick and dirty lists that I'm probably looking at for the week. I'll taper this down based off my setups and see which ones I'm going to focus on for the week. But with that being said, hopefully you got your study on the week over the weekend. You got some rest today since the market was closed, and you're ready for the week. Keep in mind it is a short week, so if you're going to be trading, you can't be, and if you're going to swing or anything like that, be cognizant of it being a short week. Premiums are going to be the air is going to be sucked out of those premiums pretty quick, right? Since we've got a 4-day trading week. And with that being said, I'll talk with you guys later. Get some sleep, get some rest, and good luck trading the rest of the week.